In this final section, I want to talk about some tips and tricks that can help you use Compress more efficiently. Now, the first tool that I want to show you is called the Vessel Wizard, and this can be accessed through the quick tool menu here up at the top. And by selecting the new Vessel Wizard document, Compress is going to create a new file. And here in this dialog, you'll be able to enter everything to create a simple vessel. Starting with the design conditions, you can enter in your pressures and temperatures. For the dimensions, we'll be able to enter either the inner or outer diameter here as our input, as well as our tan to tan length. Now, based on this input, the software will calculate the capacity of the vessel. Now, additionally, if we prefer to target a specific capacity, you could specify the diameter of the vessel and the capacity, and the software will update that tan to tan length for you. Now, this capacity will also change based on your corrosion allowance as well as the type of heads that you're using. Next, we'll enter in the code, whether we're working with Division 1 or Division 2, and the orientation of the vessel as well as our units. For the materials, we can specify the material for each component for this vessel. We can also add additional information such as a liquid level or nozzles and supports. In this case, I'm only going to add in our supports. Everything else can be added later, just like you would a standard vessel that you created with individual parts. On the next page, we'll be able to add in our supports, so whether we're working with legs or a skirt. And then once I'm happy with my supports, I can click Finish. Now, the software has gone through and created a simple model for me where I have my shell components as well as the support. You'll also notice that the software has added in the vacuum rings to help minimize my T-min. Next, let's talk about how we can simplify our models within Compress. Compress does not require that we model the entire vessel to develop a set of calculations. For example, if we just need to model a simple nozzle that's being replaced on a shell, we would be able to model those two components, like we see here in this example, and then run the calculations by clicking F3. Within the report, if we go to our deficiency summary, the software will give you a warning about items that have not been considered, such as combined loadings, as well as our top and bottom closures. If we go into the details of our specific component, you'll be able to select a nozzle, for example, and have a complete set of calculations. Next, I want to talk a little bit about how we can navigate the modeling space. So within the software, if you use your left mouse and you click and hold, you're able to pan the view within the software. And by pressing down on the scroll wheel and holding, you can rotate your model. Of course, by scrolling the mouse wheel in and out, we can zoom in and out of our model. Now, if you ever get in a position where you've lost track of the pressure vessel or you're not able to see the component that you're looking for, you can go up here to the top where you can reset the camera to make sure that the vessel is focused in the center of the screen. This can be really helpful when you're creating your report, as well as the software will take a screenshot of the model to place on that cover page by default. Additionally, you can add information such as dimensions or nozzle tags to identify the different nozzles. We can also view internal components as well by clicking Show Internals. This can be super helpful whenever you're looking at a heat exchanger. And actually, let me show you an example of that real quick. Now, with this example heat exchanger, I may want to make sure that the fluid is going to be traveling correctly through my heat exchanger. So in order to do that, I may want to see those internal components. Now, you'll notice that we can't see the baffles on either side of the vessel if this is in case has more than 2 passes. So what we can do to see more detail, besides just how it would flow through the shell side, is select the solid model view. So this will allow us to include those additional baffles or partition plates that will be found in the front and rear channels. So this way, you'll have the ability to visualize how the fluid is going to flow through the model. You also have the ability to set your datum as well. So within the action menu here in the top left, you can select set datum, which is going to be F8 on your keyboard. And from here, referencing that bottom shell seam, we can offset the position of our datum. Now I'm going to increase the position 6 inches above where our current datum is. So if I click OK, you'll see that datum move up by 6 inches. An additional helpful tool whenever you are creating your reports is if you want to include a general arrangement drawing, you can select this general arrangement drawing tool here. Now by generating this general arrangement drawing, the software will scale this drawing to be appropriate for when you go to print as a PDF. You can also use the option menu here to edit the information in the title block. Now, if you want to export this document as a DXF, you can use the export option here. To get back to the modeling space, we will unselect our general arrangement drawing. Next, I want to talk about the options that we have within Compress. So you can either press F7 on your keyboard or go to Actions, Set Mode Options, and here you're going to have the general selection of options for setting up different calculations, default settings within the software. Now on the left, you'll see a breakdown where we have our calculations and 3 different tabs of information that we can set up. We have our defaults. Again, this is going to be defaults for different components. For our general setup, this can help whenever you're creating a new file. You can select whether you want to reference the OD or the ID. You can also, with your long seams here, you can select the overall circumferential length of the plates that you'll be working with, as well as your nozzle projection. Now, if you are working with nozzles that project less than 6 inches from the outside surface of the vessel, you're going to need to change this setting. You'll notice that if you try to create a nozzle below the minimum set value here, that Compress will automatically increase the length of that nozzle. Jumping down a little bit further, we have our options here, and this can allow you to change the colors of different components. Now, you can save those as schemes down here. We also have a colorful scheme that you can choose as well if you prefer a white background with more colorful components. Next, we have our reporting. This is where you can set some options on how the reports are set up. One thing I really like to make sure is activated is this advanced reporting option. Now what this will do is you'll notice that your reports will now have numerator and denominator with a lot of your equations. So this makes reading the reports much cleaner and they look much more professional. You can also reduce the length of your report by using minimum reporting. Now you can identify by component which reports you want to be minimized. An additional menu that I'd like to discuss is going to be the codes menu up at the top of your screen. If we select codes and then ASME, you'll be able to see our codes menu where we can choose our division as well as the code edition like we do with the specification sheet, but you'll also have some additional options on the right hand side of the screen. This will allow you to select different interpretations as well as take additional reductions for MDMT. I highly suggest that you review these options so you can understand what is available for you as far as interpretations. Now, the last thing that I want to cover is a couple of common questions that pop up with new users using Compress. Now, one thing that happens every once in a while is a user will turn off this highlight over component mouse, and you'll notice that if you turn this option off, that it will feel like you cannot select any components on your vessel. You would instead have to go over to the component tree to select a component. Now, if this ever happens, all you have to do is go over and check and make sure that you turn on the highlight component over mouse. Another common issue is every once in a while, when you go to unpin, you might accidentally close the specification sheet or the component tree. This will work in either case. If you ever lose one of those panels, all you have to do is right click, and then here you'll be able to go back and reactivate that specification sheet to bring it back. You'll also notice that if you want to see some projects, we can add that tab as well, which will include some example files for you to view in Compress. I hope you found this training video useful and it gives you a head start to using Compress. If you have any questions, feel free to check out our support center where we have answers to many frequently asked questions as well as engineering articles. If you have a further question or you can't find what you're looking for, feel free to contact us through the support center or by emailing support@codeware.com. Thank you for watching this video and we hope you have a great day.